All right, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, listener submissions. AITA for leaving a party when they booked a little person stripper. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
You're kind of a little person, Sarah.
Yes.
Can I ask how short you are? Is that rude to ask someone how short they are? I guess that's a rude way to phrase it. How tall are you is how it's more commonly said.
It's like, I'm 5'2".
You're 5'2".
Yeah.
And what's legally a midget is like 4'10" or something? 5?
I don't remember. I know one of my friends is 4 foot, like 8 or 9. And I guess she's legally a midget, but she is actually just a very short person.
Interesting.
Like all of her limbs are proportional. Like
right.
It's nothing like
about
that.
There's dwarfism versus anyway.
Yeah.
ATA for leaving party when they booked a little person stripper. My friend went to a Memorial Day barbecue. It was someone's B-day as well, a double event of sorts with a birthday cake. Wow, sounds like fun.
I know. Sometimes when you read these, I'm like, why did I keep that detail in? I don't know.
Well, that could be good. What if the guy with the sandwich showed up? Then you got the barbecue.
Oh, man.
It's a lot. Birthday
You're right.
cake.
Crossover
Special Sammy. After the guy whose birthday it was told to sit in a chair. They played music. A stripper entered. Everyone started cheering. The stripper was a little person. My friend was extremely uncomfortable, but everyone else was laughing and carrying on. I don't know that I've ever carried on. I'm just putting that out there. It's always
I've never been at a barbecue that also had a stripper.
Right.
So I feel like I'm missing out.
The stripper then tried to give him a lap dance and he booked it out of there. My question, who is the asshole here? Is it the people who booked the little person? Is it the guy who left the room because he was uncomfortable? Or am I the asshole for submitting this?
OP's not the asshole, but OP left out, I think, a lot of crucial information.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know that all that information was available because I may have transcribed this. I wrote it, but it was the story was given to me. I did not make this up. It is a true. Well, it's a secondhand story, but I have every reason to believe it is true, Sarah.
No, I don't think that's fake. I guess what I'm wondering is like now I wonder. I think of that episode from Friends where it's like, did they book a stripper and a little person showed up?
Right.
Did they purposely book a little person? And if so, why?
Right. And it's interesting because the intent does seem to affect how people are thinking about this.
Yeah,
because if you book a little person to laugh at them or because they're weird, then we all like, clearly that person's the asshole.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But what about the situation where you book a little person because you're like, oh, that'll be interesting, right? Like that'll be provocative, not to make fun of them, but just because you're like, you know, little people are interesting because they're uncommon, right? They're like people who don't use social media. They're very few among us, and that's okay to say, I think. But then
I think booking someone.
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish the situation. You book them to be interesting, right? It's not malicious to laugh at them. But then the people at the party laugh at them, right?
Well, that's
because your friends are assholes.
I mean, I think legally that would be a disability. So booking someone because of their disability is like, that's kind of fucked up.
I don't think it's a disability. I don't think a height is a protected kind of class.
It's not height, I do think it is considered one.
Is it?
I think so.
I should have looked this up.
Yeah,
before.
I do think it is. So that like is inherently, I think, kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, oh, this is interesting, that's still wrong because it's like you're doing it from a perspective of like, this is weird and I'm going
to
like spectate on the way that you just naturally are. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah, but I look at people all the time and that's how they naturally are.
You're not booking them for an event so you can like...
But I would. You know,
that's weird.
Well, like for instance, all right, so let's just change a few things here and see how this pans out. What if it's a bachelor party, bunch of dudes, a bunch of straight bros, you, as a joke, book a man to strip for them. Okay. And, you know, everyone's laughing and uncomfortable, you know, does that make you an asshole? And I say, no, probably not. I mean, there is the chance that the stripper could be very offended by it, but I feel like in all likelihood, they're an entertainer.
Right.
Right. They're there to entertain. That is ultimately what they're there to do, right? I don't think strippers in general are there to have sex with anyone or to necessarily do anything sexual. They're there to evoke sex. And that is the very reason people are laughing, because they're straight guys. So like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Let me see it. I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? Like, would you
I
be
know
mad?
what you mean. I don't think it's really the same thing. However, like, I would say best case scenario, if they did this and this was kind of a random accident, like a fluke, that this was just who they got sent, then my thinking is kind of like, I don't know if anyone's the asshole.
Yeah, well, if it was a fluke, I think it's easy to let everyone off the hook. But my other thing is we approach this from the intent of the person who booked the party. What about the feelings of the stripper? For some reason, we didn't even bring that up.
My thing about my feelings of the stripper is like, you can take being a little person out of it. And to me, I just apply it the same way I think of like all strippers, which is like, are you willfully in this business and like everything is all good, course. Then cool.
So then it's cool because they're an entertainer. Imagine they were the exact like prototypical stripper, the most basic stripper you would ever expect, right? But people are laughing. Why? Because strippers make people uncomfortable already. Because they evoke sexuality, and sex in public is funny.
I mean, I do think that if you go to any strip club, like, and you're a newbie, you might laugh uncomfortably. I just don't know if that's what's happening here.
Well, but I do think, when I think about this little person who's a stripper, I think, you know what? They're comfortable doing it. And they don't need you to feel bad for them. That's the one approach I see to this. That
I think it's kind of like the same thing as any sex worker. It's like they have what's the word? Like agency, and if they're choosing to do this, like they are choosing it, and so like nobody needs you to white knight for them. Right.
They could just leave if they didn't really like the vibe. But so here's the other situation I thought, which I think is pretty analogous. I'm a comedian. I do stand-up. What if someone books me to do a show where they're basically going to ambush me? And then the question starts to be how clear and how did they kind of book me, right? Because if they book me, they're like, listen, we want you to do your act.
Wait, ambush you in what way?
And we're going to heckle you, for instance. Everyone's going to heckle you.
Weird kink, but okay.
Well, yeah, but if they told me that, they're like, the point of this is not for you to do your act, even though you're going to do your act, but the point is for us to mess with you, or we're going to mess with Bob, right? You're just part of a greater scene. Or like they bring me into it and they're like, are you on board? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm on board. My act isn't even good. I bomb anyway.
I don't even have a personality.
I don't even have a personality. So... But if they brought her in and they were like, this guy has a fetish, I don't know. Like, I don't know, when you book a stripper, do you give them a lot of information about the gig?
I have no idea. I've never booked a stripper.
Because it's hard for me to come for them. And the other thing
is, if it was a non-little person stripper, if it was a normal height person, I don't think that's the term, stripper, would the person have been would the person have left?
No, they left because
that's also part of it.
They left because they were uncomfortable because they felt like the little person was being exploited somehow. And I don't like that. I find that to be a little weak because it's like, you know what? Maybe you were uncomfortable and maybe that was a problem, is that you actually can't handle the idea that a little person is just confident enough to be a stripper and say, fuck you. People are going to laugh because people laugh anyway. And they don't care. And you couldn't handle that.
That's one side, but there's also the side that's like your friends invited this person to kind of... not belittle, but
belittle.
Fine, belittle.
Oh, yeah, that is bad.
I know, but you know what I mean.
You set me up for it. I was the one who said it. No,
I know. It's like, did your friends invite this person to make them the butt of the joke?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, really, with this is like we just can't know.
Well, okay,
so
hold on. One more situation to run through. So the ideal situation then for a stripper
is just a switcheroo.
It's just a strip. I guess, right? Like,
wait, what do you mean?
Well, I don't know. And like, we should have a stripper on the show, for God's sake. Like, does the stripper want? Because they don't want you to like, whip out your weenus or anything like that. But like,
the skin on my elbow is not offending anyone.
Yeah, well, okay.
That middle school joke.
Well, you've got a weird growth on your elbow. Let me tell you. No, so does a stripper go in and want to turn everyone on and want to see people like kind of like adjusting their crotches, or like what is the ideal stripper vibe? Because
that's a good point,
right? Like
I have no idea.
I actually believe
they just want tips.
And I admit, exactly.
And they don't want you to touch them.
That's what someone said. Emily Gross.
It's like, don't touch them and give them tips, and that's what they want.
Emily Gross said, the booker is the asshole all the way. I'm no longer friends with someone who booked Santa and his quote-unquote elf, also a little person, at an all-adult holiday party. The host's many vapid friends were taking selfies with the little person, laughing as if it was some kind of 1930s freak show at a circus. Yes, they get paid, but if the intent is to demoralize and laugh at little people, then it's a different story. But see, again, I feel like Emily G is kind of kind of pushing her views. Like, you know what? Maybe it's fun to be a freaking little person dressed as an elf, and you get joy out of the fact that people think it's funny and think it's interesting. What's wrong with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you just can't know. We're not mind readers, and it's so individualized of a situation. I kind of feel like it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah. And the fact that this is like even a system / possible career path is built on the fact that like people would laugh at people with different.
Yeah, you're right.
So there like the whole game is like wrong. And so, you know, like, I don't know.
I mean, it's tough because I guess I think if I was friends with a little person and one of these ideas popped into my head, you know, I couldn't do it. Yeah, you're right. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be like, do you want to be the elf? And
no, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up. But then and it's kind of like paying a homeless person to do some ridiculous thing like eat.
So I guess Oreos the way I think is like, I wouldn't fault the individual person for making money out of like for turning a bad situation to their benefit on the individual level, but the whole system is not good. That's, I guess, the way I feel towards all of this, and I just don't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. We got to get a little person and a stripper on the pod. We have to pay for that. Is that okay? Can we pay?
Oh my God. No, then we're part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really interesting question. Overall, though, I can't bring myself to come for anyone here. I think that the person who annoys me the most, here's what it is. The guy who left, you know why I like him the least? Because he didn't say nothing to no one. He was a coward.
I feel like, I guess.
That's the only person.
But is it like, if you're getting the lap dance, getting up and leaving is pretty like, how can you communicate anything anymore?
Well, no, but he could have got up and then like hung out for a bit and then been like gone to the party.
Did he just leave the party?
Yes, he left the party. He could have gone up and I know that because the person who told me the story. Oh. And he could have just gone up to the organizer and been like, hey, I just, I think this is a bad look. I'm not comfortable with this. Did you tell them?
It was his party and he left?
It wasn't his party. He was at the party.
He was not the guy getting the lap dance?
No, it wasn't his birthday. It was another friend's birthday.
Oh, this is...
But the stripper kind of went around and gave the lap dances. So, like, I think that person is the person who I have the most legitimate qualms with. He should have done more if he really thought it was so bad. He should have asked the organizer what the deal was.
I guess. But then what... See, I feel like then that would have just spurred this conversation that we're having where it's like this whole debate of like, is it wrong? And like, you're in a party... These guys are having a fucking barbecue. They're not going to sit here and debate who's morally wrong. They're just going to think you're the asshole and tell you to leave.
If the answer was, well, actually the person whose birthday it was has a little person fetish, would that be the right answer?
No. No, you can't like make your friends be participants in your fetish
but
by
they're
making...
a stripper. That's what the strippers do. They make you participate in their thing.
No, I'm going to say no. That's not cool.
AITA for leaving a party when they booked a little person stripper. I think I have talked about this situation now for a long time, and I think it is ultimately info for me because I think it does rest on the intent of this person and what the stripper was told, and for me, it's a big fat info.
I guess it is info. I would lean towards NTA, but I do still want more info in general.
NTA and the other person is... So you think the little person's an asshole?
No, the people who booked them.
Oh, the person who, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think the person who left is definitely not the asshole because that's kind of the most powerful, like the best thing that you can do if you're in an uncomfortable situation is to leave.
Right.
And I don't see like a good. I'm just trying to use like probability. I'm like, what are really the odds that these people did this with like the best of intentions? And I'm like,
right.
I'm not seeing it. So yeah, I'm going to go NTA.
We should note that a lot of people on the Facebook just reduced this to the financial aspect, right? They were just like, oh, well, they were paid, so they're paid. So that's that. But I don't think that's
I think
reasonable.
This is kind of deeper than that.
Because if like you pay a comedian and then the point of them is to shit on them or make fun of their act or like everyone's talking during their act, like, yeah, you're going to hate the booker. So like.
Right. And it's not nice to treat a person that way, even if you're paying them. So yeah, it's not nice to like treat your waiter like shit, even if you're going to tip them a lot.
That's a great point. That's a great way to put it. All right. Well, I don't know.
We got to look at the elbow next
we tried
time.
to high five and failed. Guys, that's the episode. Let us know your thoughts. To put us on the form. I don't even know. I've run out of words.
Put us on the form.
Put us on the form.
Yep. Join the Facebook group. Rate, review, subscribe. You know what to do.
We'll see you next Monday morning.